the first 7 verses, Arjuna asked, which is better, personal or impersonal path? And Krishna very vocally clearly said that he actually prefers or thinks that the personal path is better than the impersonal path. The reasoning is that impersonal path is actually very difficult to practice, and it is very troublesome for conditioned souls to achieve perfection through that path. Whereas in the path of bhakti, Krishna said in verses 6 and 7 that he also gets involved in the equation. In the impersonal path, it all depends on the determination of the practitioner to achieve perfection. Whereas in the path of bhakti, Krishna said that he also helps the practitioner. Of course, we do have responsibility in delivering ourselves, but we are not solely responsible for our deliverance. Recently, I was in an interfaith setting. I don't know why I'm going there. I didn't prepare for it. I will share. So there was this Christian lady, because there were all kinds of, predominantly in the US, you get Christians, Jewish, and all these people. So there were a lot of chaplains. So one of them sitting next to me was a Christian lady, and we were asked to exchange the most controversial belief that we have in our own path with the other person. So that was the question. So I didn't want to be really controversial. So I shared that how we believe that anyone who eats non like meat cannot actually fully spiritually progress. And to be really honest, I said, you like those who eat meat go to hell. And then she like we were actually very cool about it because we were asked to share controversial and we know what's coming, and we were not trying to judge or anything. We're just supposed to hear. And she said how in Christianity that Jesus is considered the only path, that anyone who does not believe or take up to Jesus goes to hell. So we basically sent each other to hell, and then we got further in the conversation. So then she became so interested about Bhagavad Gita. She asked so many questions. Literally for the 30 minutes, she was asking me about Bhagavad Gita and I was speaking about Bhagavad Gita. In 2 minutes, we completed our controversial things. However, towards the end, she also wanted to share about what she thinks about Christianity. She said the most important thing, like the most touching thing or impressive thing for her about Christianity was that that Jesus suffered for everyone's sin, that she doesn't have to have that weight of having to deliver herself. She doesn't need to do anything to qualify to achieve the kingdom of God other than just believing in Jesus, because Jesus already suffered for the sins of everyone. So they look at sin as more as a genetic defect on the living entities. Just because you exist, you have the problem of sin. But in the Vedic tradition, karma comes with individual, each different depending upon their own actions. But they see it as like an inherent defect that you have, genetic defect you have come with as sin, which is very common. So so the problem with that particular, there are many problems, but the thing that I want to focus is to think that I just assume or I just believe in Jesus and accept Jesus. Of course, devotion is a separate thing. They may develop devotionally also. But in general, to put forward that I don't need to do anything for my deliverance is not what, that's the point I want to focus. I'm not going into the Christian Vaishnava dialogue. The only place I want to focus for this discussion is to think that I don't need to do anything for my deliverance is counted. Krishna says in the verse 6 and 7, if you see, Krishna clearly says, what is the quality of the person that he will actually deliver, that he will actually help them get delivered? Is if you see, Krishna does give us some responsibility. But for those who give up all their activities unto me, being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotion service, and always meditating upon me, worshipping me, he is asking a high level of thing. And then he says, for them, I am the swift deliverer. One may think, oh my God, like this is so high. It's better to say that be an impersonalist. It's as good as being an impersonalist. For me to develop that level of determination is as good as an impersonalist delivering himself. We may think like that. That is why Krishna in these coming verses gives a ladder of love, that he gives various levels. It's not that if you are not here, I don't have anything to do with you. It's my way or the highway. That's not Krishna's attitude. He's not saying if you are not on the level of sixth verse, I don't have anything to do with you. I don't know who you are. No, it's not like that. Krishna actually gives various ways, various levels with which we can get connected and go for further. And I think the Prabhu says this nice line that he says, from your place at your pace, get some grace. So from your place, whatever is the current level of consciousness, from your place at your own pace. Some people can go fast, some people can go slow, but get some grace, because without grace, nothing is going to happen. At the same time, if we won't reach out at all to experience some grace, we need to do some endeavor to experience grace. Of course, there can be, but still, Jagai and Madai are not very common examples. Jagai and Madai are special examples. That's why they are Jagai and Madai, and we glorify. It's not that we all can think, I'll drink and I'll booze and I'll do all kinds of things and I'll be delivered. No. So it's a very special circumstance. So in general, actually, that Krishna does say that you need to actually devotionally endeavor, then you will receive my mercy. But we may think, oh my God, I am not on that level. So that's why Krishna gives various levels where we can do something. No one can say, I cannot do anything in these levels. Look, Krishna has not given us a space for justifying, oh, I can't do anything. No. So I think that kind of sets the tone for these verses that we are going to see today. The reason that Krishna offers these levels is to actually help us get connected to him. So if you have the Bhagavad Gita with you, you can open, because we will refer to the translations. Though I have put here, it's more of a summarized version. If you want to see the original translation, please help yourself. So here in the 12th chapter, we are starting from verse 8. So in the 8th verse, basically Krishna is saying that he's giving the topmost level. So he's saying, just fix your mind upon me and engage all your intelligence in me, and thus you will live in me always without the doubt. Just if you can fix your mind on me and use your intelligence to focus on me, you will live in me without doubt. So different acharyas interpret it slightly differently, but everybody agrees this is a very high level of consciousness, because to focus mind always on Krishna is not a joke, and we all have a personal experience of that. So then we may think, oh, means I can do this. This is too much. Just fixing my mind always on you is not my thing. I don't have that ability. So then Krishna offers an alternative in the next verse. He says, oh, Arjuna, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. In this way, develop a desire to attain me. So the whole idea of practicing sadhana is to develop a desire to attain Krishna. So desiring Krishna and desiring for Krishna, they are very different. Desiring Krishna is we desire Krishna, that's all. But sometimes we desire for Krishna and we confuse things. What are desiring for Krishna? Desiring, okay, if I have a house, I can have an altar. If I have a bigger house, I can have a program at home. If I have a better job, I'll have more money to actually go to different places or facilitate the movement. I'll be able to give more donation if I get more money. So these are all desiring for Krishna. That desiring for Krishna should never eclipse our desiring Krishna itself. Say if a father thinks I will build a big house for my son, but never actually takes out any time for the son, so the relationship is going to get suffering. The relationship will suffer. So in so many times we think that is why sadhana has its place and other things are all separate. So that's why Prabhupada said our own personal relationship with Krishna through chanting and other things is very important. Occasionally, we may keep it aside and do other things. And however, it does not mean that our services are an alternative for sadhana. So that's why Krishna is saying, through this regulative practices of Bhakti Yoga, you develop a desire to attain me. That's what we don't have. What we don't have is we don't have a desire. We don't desire Krishna as much as we desire other things. That's what Krishna is asking us to develop through the practices of sadhana bhakti. Because, and again, it makes very clear, like why we need to pay attention when you do sadhana, because that is what is the whole purpose of sadhana. Because we cannot always focus on Krishna, we are trying to train our mind to focus on Krishna. So if we, while doing sadhana also, if we think of everything in the world except Krishna, then we are defeating the very purpose of sadhana. So then Krishna is saying in the 10th chapter, if somebody, 10th verse, if someone says, oh my God, just sitting in one place and chanting is not my thing. It's just too much for me. I don't have time, blah, blah, all those things, all the excuses that we all often Think of, if we have all those excuses, Krishna says, okay, if you cannot practice the regulations of Bhakti Yoga, actually taking 5 minutes to chant is not at all a difficult thing for, but there are a lot of people who cannot. So then just try to work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. Again, there are multiple understandings. Working for me means directly doing service for Krishna, like doing it directly for Krishna. Say, for example, engaging in some service in the temple, some service directly for the deity worship, or in that way, it's direct service to Krishna. Or we may do our own work. Say, for example, I'm an artist, I paint, I make money, and then I give it as a donation to actually facilitate service to Krishna. So, all those two levels could be covered in this particular verse 10. Or some acharyas, they do cover the verse 10, they see exclusive service to Krishna as work for Krishna, and they see the verse 11 as you do your own dharma, your own work, and then offer the results to Krishna's service. That they see. However, Srila Prabhupada includes broader category in verse 11, where you may utilize the results of your work for any good cause. Means it may not be directly connected to Krishna, but you can still use it at least for some kind of a good cause. It may not be directly connected to Krishna. And we will see why he says so, and why is Krishna accommodating even that level of Nishkama Karma Yoga in this ladder of love, because this was specifically about Bhakti Yoga. Then why include that particular understanding, which does not have directly anything to do with Krishna? We will see that in the later verses. So 12 is a separate verse. We will deal with it separately. So these 4 verses are called as the ladder of love. It's nothing. I am just giving a catchy title. That's all. So it's these 4 verses where Krishna is offering various levels for us to connect with Krishna. And we are going to discuss them one by one. So first we will see the concepts. And then if we have any doubts in those purports, then we can take. So as we just discussed, 12.8 is mind always absorbed in Krishna. That Krishna is saying is the higher stage, and it is one is very closer to Krishna, and it's a very internal practice. It does not matter externally what this person is doing, but this person is internally completely focused. And then Krishna is saying, oh, this is too much. Then we take up to sadhana. We take up a sadhana where we try to fix our mind on Krishna regularly through our chanting, through our deity worship, through our reading Bhagavad Gita and all of these things. But specifically in ISKCON, it is about chanting Krishna's name. That's the primary sadhana. And we do it regulatedly. Regulation means a fixed number on a daily basis, preferably. So regulated practice to fix one's mind on Krishna. So that is 12.9. They both are internal practice. Krishna is speaking about fixing one's mind. So they both are internal practice. But if one says, I cannot do internal practice, then Krishna is offering, okay, you work for me directly. And if someone says, oh, no, I cannot work for you directly, but I can actually utilize my skills outside in the world and then offer my results to you. Okay, so that is an external practice. And all of this are not exclusive. It's not that if you are on the level of 9, you cannot be on the level of 10. If you're on the level of 11, you cannot be on the level of 10 or 9. We can actually be on all those levels in a given day. We could combine all of them. But for our own clarity, we are categorizing them. When you do sadhana, you're on the level of verse 10, you are doing your work, and then you offer your results. That's on the level of verse 11. And if you're doing sadhana, on a verse of 9. But that compartmentalization is for our understanding. So don't stress about the level. Just move towards Krishna. So that's the main idea. The emphasis is not on the level, the emphasis is on moving towards Krishna. So that's why Krishna is giving this ladder. So where we actually use those to climb towards Krishna, that is the whole purpose, nothing else. So we use wherever we are, we get to the next level, and sometimes we need to come down because of our own needs. So we come down, we go back. So we basically stay in the ladder of love. So Krishna meets us where we are, not where we think we should be. Many times we think we should be like that, but that is not reality. So it's better. Krishna is willing to meet us where we are. So it's better to meet Krishna where we are and hold his hand and walk forward. And this is an additional topic, that Srila Prabhupada's brilliance in creating an organization. Many times Bhakti also said that spiritual organization is a necessary evil. You may say, oh, how can you say a spiritual organization is evil? Organization is an organization. The product is different between a material organization and a spiritual organization. A spiritual organization, the product is that it is offering spiritual knowledge and connection. However, still organization is an organization. That's why Bhakti Saraswati called spiritual organization as a necessary evil, because when you have an organization, you can have you can bring in a lot of people. You can bring a lot of people in touch with Krishna. And in the past, before globalization and before organized religion, the culture, it was not like, it was not organized. The kings actually patronized temples, built temples, because those temples acted like cultural spiritual centers on various levels. They were not just spiritual centers, they were cultural centers, they were social centers. So the temples played a role, but today we have lost that culture. So then to actually help, then spiritual organization are created. So ISKCON is one, and in this we do have all these levels. So we have chanting Hare Krishna. That is actually the primary product. We have been given books in order to help us continue to chant Hare Krishna, to become spiritually informed. We do deity worship so that we can actually get purified and develop our connection, realize that the deity is non-different from Krishna, and actually continue to chant Hare Krishna. And we do have festivals, because we all like to be life to be an enjoyment, life to be a celebration. So it is to actually celebrate with Krishna in the center, and to strengthen our chanting of Hare Krishna. Sankirtan, we dance, we sing, we do kirtan, we spread it to others, inside or outside. Then it's all to facilitate chanting Hare Krishna, to bring people in touch with Krishna directly. So in order for this to happen, then we have other levels. So we need to have a temple. If the temple then the temple is a building, so that needs to be maintained, and there needs to be a structure. Then there will be management. Then there will be services, that volunteer services that needs to come in and do under that management structure or under that organizational structure. And then there is outreach, because the structure is mainly, the organization exists so that it can actually sell the product. The product here is so then outreach is very important. Higher emphasis is kept so that the organization is sustained, so that we can continue to bring this spiritual knowledge to others. So though our own deity worship, our own festivals, Sankirtan books, they all are again part of outreach. We use books not just to read, but also we distribute books. So books can be, when you read it personally, it's helping you to connect. And when you give it to others, it's helping them to connect. So your act of giving them is an outreach. So all these things are not just one category, they can go into multiple categories. So pujari is an outreach person, because he is dressing the deity so that others can come. At the same time, he is also engaged in his personal devotional service by dressing the deity. So it's multiple focus. So depending on the context, it could be either personal connection with Krishna or playing outreach. So we should never compromise our personal connection with Krishna for the benefit of outreach. At the same time, we should never compromise the organization for our own personal benefit also, because the organization has a broader purpose to exist. We can never compromise the organization for our own benefit. That is either not good. There are these are two extremes. You compromise when we compromise our own spiritual practice for the sake of outreach, that is also not good. At the same time, we cannot actually compromise the organization for our own personal benefit. So these are then the next level. Okay, if you are not directly connected in this way, okay, you can come give donation. In India, there is this life membership, or there is Food for Life, Annakshetra, all these projects, and where you can actually help connect with people. So Food for Life people, if you give donation, that's one level, but somebody is receiving food through this program, so they are also coming in touch with. So these are outside facing programs. Those people who cannot just come for chanting Hare Krishna, then they come for food. Because if you come for chanting Hare Krishna, you will get food at the end. If you come to Tuesday night Kirtan, Thursday night Kirtan, you will get prasad at the end. But there are people whose focus, because they are not having enough to eat, so you can't expect them to just focus on help. Like you can expect them to focus straight on spiritual life. So then we have these programs like Food for Life and other programs which are very outward facing, because their consciousness is not on this level. But help, the whole idea of the organization is to bring people in touch with Krishna. That's all. That's the main thing. And then we can help them grow their connection with Krishna. It's both an individual responsibility and also the organizational responsibility. So multiple levels. So but Srila Prabhupada's brilliance is that he brought the word verse 9, verse 10, verse 11, all of it within the structure. So that's the necessity of having an organization. So he really, of course, Bhakti Thakur was groundbreaking within the Gaudiya. He's the one who first created it, but Srila Prabhupada took it and made it international and also added certain elements like food for life and all these other things, extra things, presented it according to the day and times. And then it is one of the most effective Vaishnava organizations in the world, bringing Krishna Vaishnavism to the world. There's no other organization which is as effective in bringing Vaishnavism specifically to the world. And that is the brilliance of Srila Prabhupada, and how he, and to the credit of his to his initial followers, that they made it possible that we are all sitting here. In this call, there is people from all cultures, backgrounds, ages, and we are all here because of their service of Srila Prabhupada and his followers. So this is Srila Prabhupada's brilliance, that how he brought verse 9, verse 10, and verse 11 all under one umbrella. So in a given day, you get to do all those things. You get to do all those things. You can move from one level to another very seamlessly, all under one umbrella. So you don't need to think they are all disconnected. They are all connected to one place. But it's very important for us to understand the differentiation between them. And I've spoken enough. If there is any question, please keep it to the topic. Don't really derail me, but I'm willing to take questions.
So, as you said, activity is enough for us to bring us to the platform of always thinking about Krishna, because we might not be able to visualize Krishna all the time. But if we follow, as you mentioned, whole organization, ISKCON, all the activities, is that sufficient for us?
Yes, that is how Srila Prabhupada, because if you see Bhakti given by Rupa Goswami, it is Bhakti is chanting Hare Krishna, reading Bhagavatam, serving Vaishnava, visiting holy places, and doing deity worship. Is ISKCON facilitating these five? Yes. But individual consciousness, we cannot just put our responsibility on the organization. It is a structure to facilitate us. It won't do anything. We cannot expect the organization to do everything for us. That is why, again, I'm saying there is a personal responsibility, but the organization is to facilitate that. The organization has installed deities and is making sure the worship is going on. But it is up to us to come to the date and take darshan. And the next level is, what are you thinking when you come to take darshan? We come to the temple for programs. We're thinking, oh, hope I'm dressed well, like how I am appearing, and then we come with our identity. So we come with the identity of I'm so and okay, make sure I'm rich enough for people to be impressed, or I'm good enough for people to be impressed, what I'm doing that people needs to be impressed. So then we are actually not coming into the mood of I'm here to actually desire Krishna, to connect with Krishna. So these are the problems of being in an organization, where because then there are social pressures, and it's not the organizational problem, it's we bring our own consciousness, we bring our contaminated consciousness into that space. So that is our responsibility, that we try become more and more self-aware, and we more and more become understand the purpose of the organization is for us to desire Krishna. So the problem is, when we get into organizations, we start desiring so many things other than Krishna under the pretext of Krishna. So that's why it gets slowed down, that's why it gets very confusing. But the process itself has potential.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So then the next topic is that, am I living two lives? Because sometimes people think, oh, I have a material life and I have a spiritual life. And I'm so fed up with my material life. I wish I could just do my spiritual life all the time. So this is a general tendency. It's not that I did not have it or I don't have it. Yeah, we don't would like to just do, like I keep saying, the one thing I really love in ISKCON is the morning program. Pretty much I don't like it. No, I'm just joking. But it's true. A morning program is something which is so amazing, which is because it is the central practice, or the kirtans and the essential spiritual practices are very amazing. And that's what is the main product of the organization. And it's sweet. But of course, in our own personal lives also, apart from our spiritual practice, we have to do so many things. Sometimes it could be very tiring. And that's why we may think, oh, I'm living two lives. No, actually, how Krishna sees it is very different in this chapter. He sees if we are not living two lives, we are living one life. But It's just like one life, which is spiritual life, but we are progressing from one end to the other. So we are, or we were too much attached and absorbed in the material world. We had no spiritual awareness. From there, now we have developed some spiritual awareness, and where we have to go is to be completely attached and absorbed in of Krishna. So it's a long journey. So it's a gradual progression. That's why Krishna is giving not just, oh, you just do sadhana 24 hours and you will get there. Yeah, sure. If the intensity of the sadhana in quantity and quality can increase our progress, can expedite our progress. However, it is not sustainable for many people. Oh, chant every day 64 rounds. It is the best thing to do, but is it the best thing for that individual to do? So that's why Krishna is offering other things. That's why Prabhupada is offering various other elements also. Okay, utilize your faculties in service. And if you really have a certain pronounced nature, go engage it in the world, because we all need to raise livelihood. Don't worry. But do it, like, make your life's goal as becoming attached and absorbed in Krishna. Make that as your main goal, and then do everything else centered around that goal. And yeah, if you're working, you need to focus on the work, and the work can be going late, and there can be things that actually sometimes overwhelm you and take your ability to perform sadhana itself. It cannot be the general thing, but if it is an occasional thing, we need not get frustrated, because say for example, you're on the road to get somewhere, and if there is a traffic jam, yeah, the highest legal speed may be 60 miles per hour, but because of the traffic jam, you probably are able to only go 20 miles. It can be highly frustrating, but is there an option? Do you just want to skip the journey and go back and sleep? So yes, getting to Krishna sometimes can, like, we may have difficulty in practicing sadhana because we do have other aspects of life. It can be frustrating, it can be disheartening, but what is the choice? Are you just going to completely give up? No, look for times when those things are not there. What are you doing? Not all days are that hectic. So what are we doing when those days when it's not hectic? That actually shows us how actually eager and determined we are. There are so many days when there is nothing, and there's nothing gets done actually. The most intense days are the days where actually sadhana is sometimes, at least quantitatively, it gets done. So when we get too much time also, we don't have that much love to completely invest it in Krishna. So better gradually go, and don't the frustration of life, don't take it out, don't justify it in the name of spiritual life. Even without spiritual life, everybody in traffic jam is frustrated. You don't need to be a devotee to be frustrated in traffic jams. You ask anyone who does not have spiritual life, they're also tired of taking someone to hospital, dealing with financial crisis, ups and downs in the market, and health, and parents, and spouses, and the fight between the in-laws. It's not going to be very pleasant for anyone just because they are not practicing bhakti. Of course, we have added, it's, we cannot see, okay, at least though they don't have a sadhana to do, after all that struggle, they can just go and relax and sleep. No, that escapism is not strengthening them. The sadhana is to actually help us connect with Krishna, so we can actually get nourished, and we can face those things with the right attitude. So develop the resilience. So don't see sadhana as a burden. Sadhana is to actually make us see the swadharma and general living in the world. It can make us easy. If you are in a good consciousness, you won't be affected. So we are trying, Krishna is helping us transcend, not just fix. Yeah, you need to fix as much as it is needed. But when you come with a transcendental consciousness, you fix how much you can and what needs to be fixed. You don't just spend all your time in trying to fix. If we think, why can't I change this world, then we'll be frustrated. We need to come with an attitude of, what can I change in this to actually help myself respond better to this world? What can I change in me? So that attitude comes from proper. So that's why we are not living two lives, rather we are living one life which has multiple aspects. And by doing proper sadhana, by actually connecting with Krishna, we can actually become transcend. We can develop a transcendental consciousness through which we can think, oh, instead of wanting to change everything and fix this world, we also understand, how can I approach this world in a better consciousness? So the whole idea of taking up this topic is to see that our sadhana, our seva, and swadharma are not as different lives. We are not living two different lives. My work and my spiritual, the values are not matching. It's to actually as much as integrate and be happy that you have this opportunity. What if we didn't have the job? Will we be actually happy? Just focus on Krishna? What if we didn't have the family? Will we be emotionally stable enough to just focus on Krishna? If we didn't have the house that we have, will we be actually comfortable enough to focus on Krishna? So if not, just accept and don't overdo it. So both desiring Krishna and desiring for Krishna, understand the categories and don't overdo it. If you already have 15 pairs of socks, and if you're thinking there is another pair that another devotee is wearing, I really like it, control yourself. Okay, you have enough. Don't go into the externals too much. But you don't need to not wear socks either. So have enough, but decide where is that enough. Draw a very strict line and control your mind. Otherwise, the mind will never get say this is enough. So any for your information, I do have more than 15 pairs of socks, and I'm trying not to get more. Any questions? Any comments? Any thoughts? There's a chat.
Question to ask, if you would allow.
Of course. Yes, Chinmay, nice to hear your voice. I guess.
This a specific question to that dovetailing everything in relationship to Krishna. This point I have quite often felt, how is it actually, even in Ishopanishad, first two things that everything should be dovetailed in Krishna. In this way, you can live for 100 years without being bound by the laws of karma. And even in, yesterday I was reading Brahma Satra. The last 5 verses where Krishna is speaking to Brahma, how are you going to put the universe into action? And so Krishna also mentions in one of the 5 concluding verses, Krishna also mentions a similar thing. They do as a worship for me, your work, and that way you will not be bound by it. So how is it? Why is it so? The same thing which everybody in our routine lives or in our professional lives, how is it actually?
How is it actually?
Doing something for
I'm not sure if
so how
it's
does
your voice lost.
yeah, so how does this principle actually work?
How does this principle work? Say, for example, if a mother is going to work and has a baby at home, the work is so that she can support the baby. At the same time, that very work is taking her away from the baby. Do you think every given break she'll think of the baby? What is it doing? There is going to be a constant thought at the background, even while doing the job. So at the same time, if it really goes to an extreme extent, then it's not healthy either. So in this world we do have so many desires. So yes, we realize, okay, Krishna is our main goal and our connection with Krishna, but we have come up with a karmic bondage, karmic baggage, and we do have skills and we do have aspirations and desires. So now what Krishna is saying is there are various kinds of desires. Some desires needs to be dovetailed, some desires needs to be actually given up. Say if someone really wants to engage in immoral activities, they need to actually see where it's coming from, how it can be actually properly purified. Some desires have to be purified, some desires have to be dovetailed. If I'm an artist, if I have to make a living, I can make art and I can utilize that money in service of Krishna, because it's not always that utilizing money for Krishna means giving temple donation. If I take care of worship at my home, if I engage that money in actually supporting my family, because that family actually helps me emotionally stable to engage in bhakti. But how much is our consciousness? How much in the center, like the mother is always thinking of the child in the back? How much is our consciousness fixed in Krishna is very important. If we constantly do everything without even any awareness, we jump into things thinking, okay, this is my family and I need to do it independent of Krishna, then that gets like really overwhelming. So the whole idea is sadhana means training ourselves to see everything in connection to Krishna and constantly reminding ourselves. We will forget in this world the connection. When we go to a job, we don't understand this. We may sometimes get overwhelmed and forget why we are doing this job. Sadhana means to actually not just chant Hare Krishna and then be unconscious about everything else. To remind ourselves in everything that we are doing. Okay, why do we have a family? Why do we have a job? Why do we want a car? Or why do we get things what we do? And reminding ourselves how we can all center it as much as possible around Krishna gradually. So that awareness that nothing in my life is independent of Krishna, but to become aware of that is a practice. Nothing in our life is actually independent. Even if I'm having an addiction, that is because I'm not having a connection with Krishna. So when I look into it and then I try to recover, that is in my relationship with Krishna. Even if I have like a problem with money and I'm trying to make money, the reason I'm making money is I can be stable in the world so that I can facilitate my spiritual journey. So as long the moment your purpose in life is really pronounced, Krishna says that in the Bhagavatam also, if that taste for hearing about Krishna has awakened, Shravanado means like if that Shraddha for hearing about Krishna and Krishna as the man, as the supreme, and me as the soul, my connection, if that is awakened, that Bhakti Lata Bij has come is into the heart by the mercy of Krishna and Guru. I'm not just speaking about Diksha Guru, any, like just in general. We begin this path and it has become a pronounced desire. Yeah, I want to be a devotee. So from that point, nothing in our life is separate from Krishna. And the whole practice of sadhana is to become aware of that. So to think, oh, my life is, this is material life, this is spiritual life. No. If you really want Krishna in your life, do you desire Krishna? You only have one life. That is your journey towards Krishna. It may have various phases to it. So that is why Krishna is saying everything you do is actually service. The more you realize it, you'll be connected with Krishna.
This is another following question. I won't take much of it. This is not to derail you, but if Krishna is a supreme person, he's always satisfied in himself. So a person like that, why would any devotee would rather care that I'm doing this for Krishna? Person who is already satisfied, who has nothing to gain. How does Krishna, why is it so that a devotee is being asked to bring Krishna into center, bring me in the center, do it for me, do it for me?
Yeah, basically what Krishna is asking, not for the things that we have, for the love. How will you show love? Think about that in your own life. How will you show love for Krishna? And then everything what Krishna is saying will make sense. Because bhakti is about a relationship. Bhakti is not about a mechanical process. I chant and then that's again impersonalism. Last week also we discussed, some of us, or a lot of religious people and spiritual people, we also have a phase in our, a kind of a level in our mind where we are actually like psychologically atheistic or imperfect, to put it nicely. We think this process, this chanting Hare Krishna is a mechanical thing. I am there and then I chant this mantra, I develop my consciousness, I go back to Godhead. No, it's a relationship. There are two people in there. So we forget that there is in this relationship Krishna. That's what Krishna is saying. Become aware of my presence. You are not trying to do any of these things. Even sadhana is not an impersonal practice. Sadhana is a personal practice. So how is it personal practice? That means it's a connection with Krishna. So think in your own life, how will you show your love for anyone, for that matter, for specifically Krishna? For that matter, anyone, how do you show your love? Yeah, it's feeling, but how is that feeling experienced? You love someone and you never like speak to them or contact them or think of them, or, and if I can keep thinking, but also it's better to express. Of course, with Krishna it's very different because he is the supreme reality. The moment you think of him, he knows you're thinking of him, the connection, and you receive. Why do we sometimes we chant and we feel so much more uplifted? Because we have really focused our attention on Krishna, and then that immediately our consciousness gets uplifted. So it is the nature of the soul to be connected with Krishna. So that's all Krishna is saying. So thinking of this, Krishna is the nature of the soul. It's not against the soul. But because we have used to not thinking of Krishna, it feels like, hey, why is this guy demanding so much? He seems to be too egocentric. No, rather for our own benefit, he is saying. It's not that he will become happy. He is not saying, think of me so I'll become happy. He's saying, think of me so you will become happy.
Yes.
Okay.
I see. Thank you. Thank you, Babu.
Thank you. I did see Mother Indra's hand.
That's okay. I'm
Satisfied without even answer. We are happy as long as you're satisfied. Yes, Purva.
I have something about when you said we should not stress about where we are because Krishna meets us where we are already. We don't need to think about.
As long as we are meeting Krishna where we are.
Yes, but I don't know if I'm meeting him or not. I don't know actually because the thing is that there are two parts to this. Sometimes when I'm watching YouTube, suddenly some video, some ISKCON related video will pop up, and especially
So what were you watching before then?
when I open YouTube.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Especially the videos about offenses while chanting and
Uh-huh.
all these dark things that I had never thought about. I did not even know that such things exist.
No, the problem with social media is there is no like progression. What needs to be like what, even within sadhana and bhakti also, not every topic is for everybody. So there is actually a level how we actually get introduced and what we actually get to know. Information in itself does not equal to any spiritual evolution, but we are unfortunately in an age where information is almost equated to spiritual advancement. And also this greed which is overcomes us in the name of being spiritual. We want to hear anything and everything. So it's always better to be under practice, under guidance. what is the next thing to hear? Of course, you can be a little bit more like spontaneous, but still don't stress about anything. If there is a topic within the spiritual life, it is important. That is why it is there. But how it needs to be presented, how much of it needs to be presented, should be done under guidance. But unfortunately, you don't have it in a YouTube algorithm. Sees here is an ISKCON interested person. That's all. It'll bombard you with the latest video that's doing well. So it's a very impersonal thing. So they are trying to make us more hooked up in that particular platform. Nothing else is happening there. YouTube is not having your benefit in mind. YouTube is seeing how it can keep you hooked up. So then it will bring most controversial videos, especially because you see, believe me, I run a channel. I have no respect for social media because I know how mentality works. And I also see how I need to manipulate others to watching my videos. And I hate that part. If I post this video with a simple title, it is Bhagavad Gita verses 8 to 12, no one gives a shit about it. No one actually cares. If I put any kind of twisted titles, then I'll have. Recently that happened. With the 11th chapter video, I put 11th chapter, it's from verses this and this, nobody worried. And I cut a part where I said, like, why am I not spiritually progressing? That everybody is interested. It's all about themselves, or it's about controversy. The only video which did well among the Prabhupada videos I posted was sex is not bad. And then I posted another video saying no sex by Prabhupada. They did not do well. So it's people are like these platforms, they operate in a certain way to hook us up. And I do see the younger generation who's watching the channel that I at least run is less than 24 watch predominantly. And they're all like not knowing what to watch, what not to watch. It's just like they're being trained by the social media to focus on controversial things, eye-catching things. So every single video that's doing well in the channel is either a controversy or a difficult topic. That's all. Nothing actually necessary for them to connect with Krishna, they watch. Either it's meat eating or about the regulative principles or why Jesus ate meat or all these kind of things. That's where it attracts attention. And nothing really like if I post how can you actually connect with Krishna, nobody cares about it. I'm not saying nobody watches it, but it's the nature of these platforms, and it is actually like kind of conditioning us to become very too much always being stimulated and excited. So don't worry about what brings. YouTube should not be the main source where you go and advance your plan for progressing in spiritual life should not be based on your own idea of watching something on YouTube. You take the idea, get a map, and then go and watch those relevant things in the social media. Don't just watch anything that comes your way, because each preacher has a mood. They have an audience who they are speaking to. I'm not speaking to anyone who's watching this video when I post them on YouTube. That's why for a long time, I kept it unlisted, because I'm speaking to you, all of you who are sitting here. I'm not speaking to anybody else who's not here, ideally speaking. So I may answer certain questions in a certain way just to encourage you. It may not be the perfect answer in terms of the standard or everything, but I know someone as a person, and I know where they are and what would actually help them. So I may answer them accordingly, but it may not be suitable for somebody else watching it. So bhakti is not an impersonal thing again. So that's why these YouTube videos are not an alternative for personal guidance. So don't stress about things that come up. Rather, take guidance, what you need to focus on your current level of spiritual life, and how much you need to focus on a certain principle.
Thank you. It was
Sorry, I didn't allow you to fully complete your question.
No,
because I'm boiling up with this constantly. So I'm like, here I get a chance.
No, it was very eye-opening. Thank you very much. Yeah, and then the second thing that stresses me is that sometimes without any rhyme or reason, I suddenly feel so bad and so horrible and guilty about, I don't even know what actually. So, for example, I may be cooking and then I offer prasad, and up till that point, it's fine, it's okay. Then I start
Eat the
eating,
prasad, you
it's
feel
fine.
horrible.
No, but I cannot finish. I cannot finish
No.
it. Yeah, it's not only about prasad, but like other things also. It's not that I know all the prayers. I just make up my prayer in English. But I'm praying, and then suddenly it feels as if I don't even deserve to stand in front of the photo that I'm praying. Or there have been times when I've been feeling so guilty throughout the day. I just put the photo down on the table. I don't even feel like looking at the photo of Krishna.
you need to look and where is this particular thing come from. Sometimes from childhood we think we don't deserve good things in life. It may be because of some reason that has happened in the past. We may think, oh, I don't deserve good things in life, so we run away from good things, because then our identity of like I am someone because I create, like I'm pitiful because I didn't get this good anything good in life. We might have developed an identity, a victim. I don't want to call it a victim mentality, but for lack of another term, we might create so many victim mentalities in our head. And that is because we think, okay, nobody loved me, so I am so pitiful. Suddenly, when someone shows you love, that particular identity you have nourished and held on to cannot now does not have a justification to feel like that. So you run away from that person who's trying to give you love, because you want to feel, because from that place of being a person who never got love, you got so much attention, and that pity brought you attention, or you just reveled in that. I'm not saying you, I'm just giving a general scenario. So when we receive love, that identity cannot exist now, has no justification to exist. So then we actually reject the love. Rather, we hold on to, out of compulsion, out of habit, we hold on to those identities to continue to feel pitiful and continue that identity. So the identities won't die down quickly. So we superimpose all those other things within spiritual life also. So we need to have that clarity where it's coming from. Sorry to sound like a therapist,
I
but
agree with
I
that.
but that is my kind of personal life, like how I see my own things bubble up and how I react. Or some things I run away from, some things I procrastinate. I see all of these things are coming from my past and my own subtle mental identities that I have. So the more I want to hold on Krishna, I need to release my hands from these things, because my hands are busy. So that's why I'm not able to hold Krishna. So we need to see, we cannot think of just chanting and magically it will fix everything. Rather, that chanting has brought in this awareness that you are running away from something which is good. So that's why I'm making you ask these questions. So chanting is actually has given you this ability to become aware what other people are spending thousands of dollars to go to a psychiatrist. Chanting has already given you this awareness. So now work on that. That is also part of your spiritual life. Work on this. Understand what is that you're holding on to. And only when you release it, you will be able to hold on to Krishna. So it's all part of spiritual life. It's all part of the chanting. When you churn your heart, all the unnecessary things comes out. That's how you remove them. When you churn, the butter comes out. It's not, of course, unnecessary, but it comes on the top, then you can remove it. Similarly, when we churn our heart with chanting, all these other things will come out. If I'm feeling a pattern of addiction in me, I should not think, oh, I'm such a bad person. No, Krishna is showing, hey, look at this thing. This thing is coming in between you and me. Work on it. So then we
But
need to understand where it's
however,
coming from, why it's coming from.
sorry. However, if the bad things are getting uprooted, then it should be good. Then I should be feeling good, isn't it? But I feel horrible.
That's why I'm saying it is an emotional reaction. You have had that identity for a long time. I'm not assuming you need to speak elaborately on these topics, but in general, we hold on to these identities as someone, and then when it goes away, also we still have that hangover a little bit. We still hold on to the past, and then run away from good things so that we can continue to feel pitiful. That's my judgment, but there is each one. We are all very unique, and we have flavors of our own problems. So I'm just giving you an indication. Don't think this does not mean we are bad. Soul is always good. It is such, these are all coverings. The mental coverings, the addictions, the compulsions, the behaviors that we have. It's not either us. It's not us. That is also, we are not those things. We are having those things and we can remove those things. Otherwise, why Krishna will speak everything. So I am not bad. I am having certain things which are unhealthy in my relationship with Krishna. So I need to see them separate from me and see with compassion at me and see, okay, I've been having this for a long time. How can I actually improve gradually? And yeah, I know this is not like a 10-minute conversation thing, but I'm just giving you.
It was very helpful. I wanted to ask you this question since a few months, but I never plugged the courage. But thank you very much.
Thank you for becoming vulnerable, because everybody is going through this. I go through this, and that's why I'm able to say confidently certain things. So thank you for asking. And Mother Indra?
You actually answered, I think, my question or my comment, because I was wondering if I was correct in thinking, because psychology has this idea of how we're brought up and how it affects us, right? And then the other day while I was chanting, and I probably shouldn't have thought about it when I was chanting, but I was thinking about the subtle body and the false ego and how that travels with you from lifetime to lifetime. So a lot of those issues weren't just in this life, they maybe were previous, and I'm continually to have to work on them as I move forward. But I also had to say how when I realized that the subtle body and the false ego and all that, they were coming with me to my next life or had come with me, it was very disturbing to think about that, because I was really hoping I would get rid of all these issues I had in my next life, start all over and try again.
Yeah, that is what Chaitanya says, because it may not be the right thing to mention that. There are sometimes people think, oh, let me just die, at least in my next life, my life would be better. Chaitanya says, if only by dying, if I can actually grow close to Krishna, I would die 1,000,000 times. But it's because we go with all of these things. So it's better to address. Krishna has given us the time. So let's try to address as much as possible in this life. At least our future could become better. If we run away from these things, we are not going to actually run away from anything. We can't run away from anything.
So not running away, I thought you got a do-over. But
yeah, it means I'm not like, I'm also, I'm not reflecting what you said or answering you. I'm adding my thoughts on it. So like, I do agree. What you said was, yes, we need to work on, because that's what we are going to get. The false ego is going to follow us until it is fully purified.
And also, is it bad to ask or pray to Krishna to help you with these issues?
Yeah, how we pray is, Krishna, help me come closer to you. As long as we are attached to Krishna, our attachment should be with Krishna, not to get rid of these miseries that comes from mind and ego. All these things are a problem because we are not able to connect with Krishna fully. So what we want is a purified mind that we can always fix on Krishna. What we want is the ego of a servant that we can always identify ourselves as a servant of Krishna. So we are asking for connection with Krishna. As long as that part is kept in the center, everything in life can be gradually adjusted. That's what this whole section is about, understanding that it's not about any of these things. It's about Krishna, desiring Krishna. Thank you. Krishna Prabhu?
Yeah, I also wanted to share that I also go through this exact same struggles where you feel like you're not deserving of the good fortune of getting the association of devotees or even being able to go to the temple. Because I think one of the things that affects me is that the consistency of practice is not, or the quality of practice, the quality or the consistency of sadhana is not great. But even besides that, even despite that, I should say, despite that, once in a while, I get association of devotees. So I also go through the same feeling of guilt and I'm not really deserving. What am I doing here? I feel like, I think the term that's used in Western psychology is imposter syndrome. And that's a consistent feeling that I get. And I wanted to share that too, just in support of the others who mentioned it.
Yeah.
I also had the good fortune of attending a class by another Prabhuji, and in which the same about the physical body and the subtle body, which Mother Indra was asking about the subtle body and then the soul. And the subtle body does carry impressions from one life to the other life. So some of these feelings that I have are probably coming from previous life. Some of them could have been from my childhood. I don't know. But bhakti is the only way of actually destroying or killing this subtle body. The physical body anyway is going to die because we all know that it's going to die. But the subtle body will remain and will remain with us throughout our different lives. But bhakti is the only way of eroding that subtle body and getting rid of the impressions slowly and gradually. And the soul is immortal. It will never die. It will always be there. So the bhakti is the only way of reducing it. Maybe you can chime on this also, Prabhuji. I just thought
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for first speaking about that phenomenon of imposter syndrome, because again, our focus is always on ourselves. So when we are like struggling to shift the focus on Krishna, see, Krishna wants to love us no matter who we are, but we feel like, oh, I have to be someone to be loved. So that's another topic. However, as you said about this subtle body, if you see how Sri approaches this topic, is he says he is not speaking about destroying the subtle body, he is speaking about purifying the subtle body, because Now we have mind, ego, and intelligence, which is like the subtle body thing. It is not that the soul does not have these corresponding faculties. So that is called as chitta. And I don't know if I'm okay opening up a Pandora's box. Like, it's, if you go to Bhagavatam, third canto, and all those things, there are detailed analysis of the subtle body. So there is not just three, there is four. So there is mind, ego, and intelligence, and then what is called as contaminated consciousness. So these are not three different or four different entities. Rather, there is one entity. Based on its function, it takes up a different name. If it is thinking, feeling, and willing, it is mind. If it is identity, it's ego. If it is analytical analysis, then it is intelligence. So it's one entity with different components in it, like that. So when we say about, we are not seeing our mind as our enemy. No, our mind is actually the most important instrument in our ability to become focused on Krishna. So our mind is not like an unwanted thing that we need to kill. Rather, no, Prabhu, I don't think you disagree or with what I'm saying, or I'm not disagreeing with what you said. I'm just using the terminology can have a negative connotation on people. Then they may just try to hate their mind all the time, like how we think, oh, Maya. So we just try to blame everything on Maya and not address where it's coming internally from us. So I'm just addressing that point, nothing to correct you or anything.
I think I get it, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is the mind is our to go towards Krishna. We have to
Krishna.
utilize our mind to go towards
Thank you for
Krishna.
Krishna. So the idea is to purify it, and even the soul will always have those faculties. It will always have the thinking, willing faculties. It will always have the intelligence faculty. It will always have an identity as a servant of Krishna. So all of these things are belonging to the soul, but now we have a material counterpart of those things. So when we clean, it's not that we won't have a mind, but rather we will have a pure mind in the pure state of the soul. So what we are trying to is instead better, as Prabhu uses, the word purifying the mind is a better terminology.
And thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. And I'm not surprised that we didn't go past the initial slides. So since I answered all of your questions, now you're all obliged to listen to me for a few 4 minutes. So yes. So is bhakti all about the feelings? And sometimes I feel like I just want to stick to the verses, but I do understand answering these things are very important. We are not just trying to understand the book. Again, I'm trying to be more personal. That's why I pick up these additional topics. So I hope they are useful. They are not derailing from the conversation, but I hope they are enriching the verses, understanding those verses. So I already spoke about this and how bhakti is, if bhakti is all about feelings, for developing feelings for Krishna, how do I deal with the feelings that I currently have? And when I don't feel like connected to Krishna, should I not do bhakti? Because that can become very mechanical bhakti, because we do hear some lectures who say bhakti is not mechanical, it should be filled with emotions. So when I don't have emotions, then I stop even that mechanical part. So all these kind of questions can come up. So that's why the understanding is bhakti is a relationship with Krishna. It's not just about emotion all the time. If you have a child and if the child is hungry, it does not matter whether you're in a good mood or not. You at least give milk to the child. Okay, I'm so irritated, so you make the child that comes under abuse. So the same way in our bhakti relationship, sometimes we may be like in a good mood and really want to chant and all that, sometimes not, but it's a relationship with Krishna. We connect with him, and in that connection, when we really go and tell Krishna, okay, Krishna, I'm not even able to focus, my mind is here, there, just tell those things, that what is the problem, bring it to Krishna. So don't bring they say don't tell God your problems, tell your problems. How big is Krishna, how great God is. So in this case, it's bring your problems to Krishna and tell, I'm struggling with these things, I'm struggling with that, please help me. So at least you're still connecting with Krishna. And when we actually invest in that relationship, naturally feelings of love and devotion will come. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm not feeling, I'm such a bad devotee, and then picking up your phone, then YouTube will give another connection and another sambandha. And then you will scroll for a few hours and then think, oh, what kind of a bad devotee I am, I wasted my time, I'm so bad. So it just is like increasing that guilt. Rather, if we bring that to Krishna and say, Krishna, I'm so not able to focus on you, please. When we turn towards Krishna, then eventually that feelings of devotion will come and love will come. So don't over rely on your general feelings currently. So don't measure your spiritual progress solely by how you feel. because feelings can be unstable or misleading at this stage of our practice. At the same time, don't look all your feelings. Be aware and understand where it's taking you. If the feeling is taking you away from Krishna, it's not good. The feeling should take you towards Krishna, whether it's a good feeling or a bad feeling. Make sure it is taking you towards Krishna. And it's not about feelings in the beginning stages of Bhakti, it is about commitment. Show some determination. Even if Krishna does not want me to chant, I will chant. Even if Krishna says, I don't want to see your face, I will show my face. Even if all the devotees around me, I think that they hate me, I don't mind. I go and sit in their midst and hear about Krishna. So, of course, we should not do anything like as much as possible that like we like what do you call we others have to hate us. We need to watch our behavior. But even if we think, oh, I'm so not so qualified to be in these assembly of great people, no, we don't care. They are great people. That's why we have to be there with them. So through steady commitment and sadhana and service, gradually that connection will come up. So determination is our to practice is our initial quality we need to focus on, not just always on the feelings. Our feelings will always be plus and minus. So, summarizing the topic, like bhakti is not defined by feelings alone in the beginning stage. It is a committed relationship with Krishna. We have to focus it on commitment. Like even so, emotional experiences may come and go. They're not the essence of devotion. And what I mean by these emotional experiences, like sometimes you go to a first time to a temple. I remember one devotee told me when he first time went to Jaipuri and was present before Lord Jagannath, he was just like crying. He was just having tears like for 15 minutes. He was just crying. He doesn't even know why he just thought, oh, I'm so spiritually advanced. So the next day again, he went and he was thinking nothing was. So it's not that, okay, yesterday I was a pure devotee, today I'm not. It does not matter. Like you continue to go and take shelter of Gannaji. So then rest of the yatra, he kept going every day and thinking, okay, today I'll cry, today I'll cry. It's not, we are not trying to reproduce something to feel that we are great. Continue to go. So Krishna gave you a sample free without qualification. So now you have to work for that. Come to a place where you can actually cry for Krishna. So sometimes devotional feelings may be driven by novelty or material triggers also. So don't real stable devotional feelings gradually arise from sadhana bhakti with steady practice and service. So don't wait to feel it. So do bhakti sincerely, the feelings will naturally come. So it's not about feelings. Again, it's about wanting to connect with Krishna. Feelings for what? To not to feel that we are great, but to actually feel connected with Krishna. So love is a very simple feeling. If you have someone you love in your life, there is no reason. You just love them. So 12.12, it's what time is it? 10:16. I have another class to go at 10:30. I think it's wise that I stop here. And we will discuss this particular verse because it's a very complicated verse. It's one of the most complicated verses. So we should give it time that it requires. Yes, Varit Hare Krishna.
This is not related to anything about the Bhagavad. Essentially, it's related to something I was wondering. I was wondering if ISKCON, the temple and stuff, would promote international literacy in any way due through the Bhagavad and
International literacy in general literacy?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Say like every organization is focusing on one product.
Yeah.
So it's not that, say, for example, I know so many people who have learned English after coming to ISKCON in India. Honestly, I'm not even joking. What they would not have ever otherwise come in touch with, they have come into a lot of exposure just coming and practicing bhakti. But that's a very side thing. And ISKCON's main product is increasing one's awareness of Krishna. However, we do have like in projects like Govardhanika Village and other projects, we do have those kind of rural development projects and other things which can actually help bring people inside. That's how I showed in this slide how we do have multiple levels within the organization. Yeah, here in this particular thing. So like things like Food for Life or all the other social causes, we can actually use them, but it's not the main emphasis of the organization. Say, for example, you go to Harvard, Harvard doesn't do food distribution. It's not their emphasis. They might do, but it's not their main emphasis. It's about offering education. So similarly, ISKCON is a spiritual education organization. So we teach Bhagavad Gita. We may not teach English per se, but in the course of that, there may be other projects on the periphery of ISKCON that can do these things, but that is not the main emphasis of ISKCON.